We found a writer. I am so psyched to introduce you guys to Hayley Lawrence, writer of The Other Side of Tomorrow. She's very kindly agreed to talk to us about her honour book in the older reader category.
Oh,
Congrats,
wow.
Hayley, an honour book. You must be so excited.
Oh, that's very thrilling. Yes, I am very excited, especially given that this was the first book that I wrote. It didn't come out as my first, but it was the first book that I actually wrote. That's really, really thrilling.
Yeah, amazing. And if you could give us a brief explanation of the story.
Yeah, the story is about a teenage girl who makes a sea change. She's looking to reinvent her life. She's concerned with everything that most teens are concerned with. New life, new love, adjusting to a new town. And while she's thinking long term, she gets a quite devastating diagnosis and realises that even though she thought she had forever, her forever is narrowed down to a very short time frame. And that changes her perspective on everything about her life.
Yeah, awesome. What inspired you to write this book?
I work as a solicitor, and in my early days in law, I actually had a client who went through something very, very similar to this. So it was a really personal story for me. And when I had babies and I left law for a period of time, that story stuck with me, and I never realised that it would inspire a novel. The novel's not that story, but it was inspired by the idea of this teenager who thought she had forever, and all of a sudden that's removed. And how does a teenager deal with that? I mean, teenagers have got so many changes going on in their lives, but usually they're looking forward to a really long future. And when that's taken away, how do you process all the opportunities and all the things you'll never get to experience in life?
Yeah, actually on that, the characters in your book, they do go through a lot of change. What advice would you give to young people like myself who might be going through some difficult challenges?
What I would say to anybody who's going through a really challenging and difficult time is to accept the challenges for what they are and know that growth will come out of it. You'll come out of it a better person. You'll come out of it with newer understanding about life and difficulties. If you read about a book that's a book that deals with the topic of change that you've not experienced, it opens your mind and it gives you a sense of empathy for other things that you haven't had to deal with yourself.
Totally. And just as a general question, why do you think it is important for young people to read?
Oh, it's so important for young people to read. Reading is like travel. It opens your mind and it allows you to live other lives, learn lessons without having to actually go through all the mistakes that protagonists go through in reaching those lessons. Nobody gets worse by reading a book.
No. Okay, and just finally, for any writers that might be watching from home, is there any advice that you could give them?
Write, read, write, read, write, read, and never give up, because you need to finish what you're working on. That's one thing. Every novelist, every author, every writer gets to the point where they feel like this is complete crap, this is a waste of my time, this is never going to go anywhere when they're writing a story. Every writer feels like that at some point, and you get to this really hard part and you want to give it away and think, I'm going to start another story. Don't do that. Finish the story. Regardless of how crap and terrible you think it might be, finish it, because the finishing of a story is a process in itself, and then you've got something to work towards.
You talk a lot about how important reading is for young people. Was there a book that when you were my age that made a big impact on you?
Yes. I absolutely fell in love with the John Marsden Tomorrow When the War Began series. I loved those characters like they were my friends. I got jealous if I heard anybody else talking about them, because I thought, no, you don't know them the way that I know them. I got so invested in those characters. And what I loved about that story is that it took a group of teens, put them into a really terrifying and unfamiliar situation, and allowed the characters and the teenagers to figure out the solutions and really take agency for their own lives.
Thank you so much for joining us. I think I might want to be a writer now. Thank you, Hayley.
You're welcome.